Okay, so Guadalupe is in Act 6, and per custom, we are checking vendors for anything notable. 6 sockets are now on the table as of, as of late. And I could be checking for, little chromatics, but we're not going to bother with that. First things first, when we go to Act 6, is I typically just do the Twilight Strand. This is the southern area that most notably just gives us access to our little lily shop. What the fuck? Because I want to have access to all the gems in one area, and she gives you absolute gem access, and that's super, super nice. Because I don't really like dealing with having to run around for gems, but it is good to note that the gems you do get from Lily in Act 6, and the one you can then add to your hideout, are always level 1 gems. So if you do need to get gems that are leveled, it's better to get them from the axe than it is to get them from Lily, but sometimes you want them level 1s. Ooh, Belt of the Deceiver's not bad. It's all res, and it does make you take less crit damage. Intimidate does nothing, but yeah, it's kind of cool to see. It's technically probably an upgrade from my belt. Yeah, it's an upgrade. Alright, we're going to take Belt of the Deceiver. 1, 2, 3. Assassin's Mark. Steer clear of any danger. And he's good. And wait a couple seconds for some on-death shenanigans, as always. Slap this bad boy on there. I feel a little bit stronger. Now, there is the boss of this area coming up. Something to note about this guy. He does have an on-death effect and a bit of a barrage, but yeah, you just gotta watch out. And there it is. All safe. Talk to Lee for the reward. And I think I will. She is all the way down the dock. I don't know why, but she is. 2 passive respecs, and now we have access to every single gem in the game, including but not limited to also Convocation and Detonate Mines. Nothing I want to purchase, I don't think at this exact moment. I will be changing my setups, but for now we're kind of just chilling. We got our guard skill set up, we got a movement skill, we got our main attack skill, we're happy. Alright, into the coast. The only thing to do here is to just walk through it. But I do want to be wary a little bit of the underground dog. There's a dog that you will see that has a molten shell that if you had very little fire res could be spooky. We are obviously super capped everything because hardcore preparation. But yeah, could be kind of spooky, and you just want to be cognizant of that to not get clapped by a secret underground dog. We're taking the stack deck and those 3 fusings, you bet your bottom dollar. Oh, there it is. See, it just popped my entire mana pool, actually. That thing could get you. That has gotten people. So, again, that's what you want to be wary of. It's a little fucker. Same thing with approaching shrines from the north. You don't want to walk into a shrine if you don't know what it is. Got a little side quest here in the Tidal Island. Pointless side zone, but we're doing it because we're doing them all. The boss of this area is a squanchy little water elemental over there. We're just gonna, again, just steer clear of, and the totems will take care of the rest. There he goes. He's already dead. Bestel's manuscript. We do have something actually spooky, which is our first Sanguinomancer. Sanguinomancers are a really good representation of poor merc balance when it comes to enemies, because there's a couple things people don't know about necessarily by mercs. Number 1, they have an inordinate amount of life regen and DR in the first couple seconds of the fight, which is why if you typically have some form of reducing damage, reduction or life regen, they die much quicker than people who don't. Second thing is they have Val skills, but their Val skills operate on cooldown, not on Val souls. So a merc at the very beginning of a fight can just rip off a Val skill. And a Val Reap with a few supports, if you were super, super weak on your amount of recovery and regen you had, could fuck you up. So that's why I want to place my totems and walk away, because he might Val Reap right on top of me. I don't want that to happen, so I keep a nice distance, but yeah, just something to be mindful of. Back to town we go, handing on our quest, Bastille. We kind of want to grab, I guess, another turquoise amulet. Ours is pretty good, although that one might be better. Lightning damage, crit multi, life, all res. Yeah, that's kind of good. By holding Alt, we could check its affixes and suffixes, or prefixes and suffixes. We could see it's full because it has 6 rolls. But that's a nice one. We could check our DPS. I don't know if it's really going to go up. 1.7. becomes 1.63. Yeah, the cast speed is throwing it off ever so slightly, even though it has global multi and the lightning, so I think we'll probably just be okay with our existing one. Well, this one is just kind of better as far as all res, but we're so res capped, I'm not really worried about that, so we'll stick with our existing one. Back to the coast we go, entering the mud flats. Now, the mud flats is a very spooky zone the first time you hit it, but actually much less spooky in Act 6. The only real threat is just dying to these kind of Tukohama shamans. Although I see a real threat right in front of us, and that's an infamous blade caster. Let's purge this area before we fight this really lethal adversary. Alright, now first off, he looks insane. What does he have? What is he offering? He's offering an Extractor Mentis, and he has a bunch of Chaos abilities. Does he have any super good rares that's worth dying over? The helmet is 93 life chaos res with room for a second res. Yeah, that's pretty good. I think I'll probably take the helmet, and we're going to stay far away. Abyssal Cry, Strike, Venom Gyre, Dash, Malevolence. 1, 2, 3. Keep our distance. I feel pretty okay as long as we stay far away. I cannot imagine any amount of his multipliers do damage to us. But we like to be safe, so there's that. We'll keep that to get a little bit of Chaos Res, and we can craft on some regular Res. Unique Mob coming up here in a second to grab Nessa's eyeball. Don't forget, as of right now, Nessa is a victim in the story. Totally not a piece of shit. There's the Eye of Conquest. Thank you, thank you. There's a level. We're going to go across here and grab the Sentinel node soon, and then I'm going to path over here to pick up more skill effect duration. Into the Karui Fortress. We have a Pantheon fight coming up, first of many. Time to fight Tukohama and grab this quick crafting recipe. This fight's pretty straightforward. You DPS the boss. When he spawns the totems, you break down the shields that they're protecting. Rinse, repeat, fight's over. This does unlock a Pantheon, which is really nice. Their defensive buff that will be super integral to our survival in hardcore. Some of them are extremely potent. Tukohama unlocks a minor god Pantheon, which gives us physical damage reduction per second if I've been stationary. One we're not going to use because we're typically not stationary, but others are incredibly powerful. I don't know if it's our first, but we do have a Gem Cutters box here, which are quite rare. Not a good source, but they could be a source for a exceptional gem. Exiting the fortress and onto the ridge. Quick little waypoint grab, and the ridge is home to a kind of spooky unique mob. It's a wheel skeleton that just has a bunch of lightning damage. There he is. I saw him go past me. We also get introduced to the expedition mechanic, which in itself can be, again, quite rippy. It's something that is as spooky as you make it. It's one of those things. Expedition involves acquiring currency for 4 different vendors, and by doing so, you're placing dynamite that you detonate a series of remnants in the ground, and which unlock chests and spawn monsters, and they add modifiers in order. Meaning, if I detonate A, and then I detonate B, I fight A, then I fight AB, then I fight ABC, and so on and so forth. But you could use this ridicule to not to make fun of them, to hit 2 things at once and maybe get a little bit more value out of them. The rare monster or larger monster remnants are denoted by these sticks with large skulls in them. So 1, 2, 3 in that set. There's one right there. Then you use V to push it and then eventually hit the middle to detonate. Totems are nice because I get to prep my attacks. I could, again, just put the totems down and kind of walk away, which, you know, we're all for that anytime I get a chance to do that. The safe playstyle of totems really lends itself to mechanics such as Expedition, where I could just kind of fuck off. But Exped mobs, as we call them, are a little bit spooky. Pop these boxes, nothing important. And we did get a couple of Straggly, which is Gwen's currency. Gwen's used to gamble items. She's a sweet little lady. Best chance of getting things like TZ or uniques, or, you know, from some type of thing like her. I'm not sure how much we'll really do Expedition on this character, but 20 quality bot. Oh yeah, some 20 quality flasks right there. I'm good, but there they are. You get a pair of mirrored boots. They're actually pretty okay boots. We're gonna not use them, but something interesting to note if you didn't know, if you vendor mirrored rares, you do get a chance orb, so. Exiting the ridge here, we're entering the tower, which does contain a lab trial, and climbs its way up 3, 4, 5 floors to the tippy top of the tower, where we do have a big boss fight. Another infamous blade caster. Spooky, but I do like the guaranteed unique coming up. Let's see what it is. another amulet. This one is maybe more scary because he has Pestilence Strike. I don't really know if that's more threatening, but I don't give a shit about Duressos. So I guess we're just taking 2 transmutations, but keeping my distance for any shenanigans. Oh, there's a ghost. Ah, that could be a scenario. Let's just stay away. I don't know. I think he's dead. We're good. We're good. He's dead. Speaking of mechanic introductions, it's an abyss. Abyss are these fun mobs that if they spawn fissures across the ground, you have to follow. And they just kind of shit out enemies. And as long as you clear everything in the area, the fissure will continue and it'll spawn more enemies until it eventually reaches a chest. And if you're in maps and it's kind of rare, it'll spawn a boss fight. But for the most part, it's just a lot of mob density. Great mechanic. Well, 52 gets a Sentinel, which is a fun little pass-through node of 10 all resins and evasion and armor. There's the last rare dying, and there's our Abyssal Trove, the Spoils of War, containing a Hypnotic Eye, which is our Abyssal Jewel. It's a jewel. We haven't really used jewels much. They can be good. This one is actually pretty good. It's 3 damage rolls and a res. We'll probably keep that for now. And whenever we get a Valor, we'll use that to have a whole other discussion down the road. Here's the exit to the tower, but first we want to go over here to the right side and grab this lab trial. Alright, here's the lab trial. This is a spike trap one. We've done these before. We know what it's like. Nothing surprising here. This is the first of 2 sets of lab trials, actually, where we do them in Act 6 and Act 7, and it's going to get us our second ascendancy, which is really exciting. Quick little recipe for double res. A pretty important thing, honestly. Get access to crafting res rolls like cold fire, fire lightning, yada yada. Now we're going to loop all the way back to the tower entrance and start working our way up. Guadalupe, Guadalupe, gonna climb a tower now. Tower floors are pretty quick, so it's just kind of stair to stair. Stair to stair. Alright, we're reaching the top here. Oh, I heard a currency drop. I'm not going to not go back for that. Too fusing. You bet your fucking ass I am. Okay, top of the prison. We now have to fight Shavron and Brutus in a council fight. No, it's not really a council fight. It's a tag team fight. Brutus has a couple abilities. He's mostly just going to slam and then yeet himself across. The slams are pretty easy to dodge. Everything's pretty easy to dodge here. We just kind of stay in the middle, and then he's going to transition to Shav in a second. And after, I think he's to hit me or something. He's not. There we go. We go to Shav, and after Shav goes down, then she's going to fuck off, and we're going to get some sort of Shav-Brutus hybrid monstrosity. I'm going to do my job, which is running in circles like a dick. Okay, here's the hybrid monstrosity. And we can wait for it to bait out the attack. Boom, boom, boom. And he's going to yeet himself across. Again, just keep our distance, and he will do literally nothing the entire fight. Slam, 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 fight's over. Alright, now we exit the door, go through the Warden's chambers, grab a quick little crafting recipe. We're on to the center bulk, the middle mass of Act 6, which is actually super enjoyable. A lot of people liked Act 6, and the reason is because it's full of passive points. And who doesn't like passive points? Here's that, oh, never mind. Why did I not get a Chance Orb? I didn't get a Chance Orb because they're item level, I believe. Might be too low. That's what I'm getting out. I can see from my res and my helmet that I actually need Cold and Lightning the most of all my resistances. And I just grabbed the hybrid crafts of Cold and Lightning. Let's slap that on there. And now I have, I mean, I was already res capped, but now I've got more Chaos res. It's the most important part. Okay, so Act 6, Prisoner's Gate. There's a couple routes you can take. I've got a specific route I like, which is I follow the road all the way down until I get to the jungle area, and then I go left and do the point quest there, and then I loop back and I do Abberath. And that sounds whatever, but I'll show you how I do it. So follow the road to the Western Forest. Western Forest is just more road, no actual activity in this area. Take the Western Forest to the Riverways. Follow the Riverways road all the way. When you reach the waypoint, you'll start to see the broken path. Follow the broken path all the way. The broken path will then lead to the wetlands. The wetlands doesn't have a straight path. You just kind of have to walk the opposite of where you are until you find the door. Found the door. Now we're entering the spawning ground. Here's a bit chaos damage heavy, but it's not too bad if you have some life regen. You gotta kill these 3 little spawners with Latha's nests here. One on the left, one in the middle, one on the right side, and after this falls, we're gonna have the boss spawn up here. You just gotta make sure you don't get shotgunned. You could get shotgunned, but you want to not get shotgunned. So just make sure you keep walking in a semicircle and you'll never get shotgun. She might teleport through the middle, or she might just die. It's 50-50 here. Nope, she teleported. She's coming up. There she is. And again, make sure you don't just get shotgunned. Okay, we're cool. Trarthus is actually a really, really good lesser Pantheon god. This one gives you life flasks. Now we're going to head back to town. We're going to go back over here to the prisoner's gate. The instance should still be up. We're going to walk one of the two ways. It doesn't matter which one, but it's just not the path, and we're going to find the canyon route. This canyon route's going to lead to Abberath, who was the last person we're fighting in this area before rotating to the final kind of pathway. Alright, Abberath can be spooked. He does a fuck ton of damage for no reason, and he has a lot of arbitrary fucking molten shells and meteors and what have yous, especially in the second phase. But you just got to keep your distance, and after he phases once, you're going to run through the Valley of the Cloven Assholes, which is just a bunch of goats. And then once that's done, then you're going to be on to the final fight, where you just got to keep moving because the meteors will just keep coming. Here's the path. The actual goats themselves do basically nothing here, but you just want to get through it. Onto the valley. And here's Abberath. Now you got to watch out for his initial summon. This will get you. So I just like to loop around, pop a Quicksilver, keep on my toes, because I don't want to just get some random bullshit hitting me, so I just stay frisky. And that should do it. Don't stand in puddles. Use brain. Abberath's minor Pantheon's also pretty good, which is less duration of ignite. Now, I can't be ignited, so it doesn't matter, but yeah, that's not bad. So, now we can go back to town. Here's the fun part of Act 6. All the middling quests are done. I can talk to Bethel, grab a quest point. Talk to Tarkley, grab a quest point. Grab an item, and I get to also grab a quest point. So now I just get 3 quest points in a row, and I'm a happy little camper. Duration, duration, duration. Now I have both of my duration clusters, which means my Stormburst does as much damage as I can make it, and also my arcane stuff lasts forever. At some point, I did grab a rogue marker, which does unlock Heist. Now I can talk to Karui here, and she's going to say, "Ooh, rogue marker, tell me more." So now I can right-click them, go to the Rogue's Harbor, and begin the Heist tutorial. Heist is a League mechanic that is overtly complicated and convoluted, but the TLDR is you run a baby heist to then unlock and upgrade these thieves, using it to loot stuff, but not over-looting so you don't blow up your heist meter, and then you want to grab the grand prize and fuck out of there. If at any point you die, or you DC or anything, you lose everything because you have to uncontraband it by escaping. Here's my first contract. Now I'll be finding rogues' caches throughout the game from now on, unlocking quest contracts that progresses the heist narrative. Our first heister is Karst. He's our first thief boy. We're going to do his first tutorial heist in the bunker. There's the meter at the bottom. We exit the airlock into the actual bunker instance. There's going to be some mobs here, and Heist is actually a relatively safe place. You just want to be cognizant of the Templar mobs, these type of guys. They can build up behind a door and alpha strike you. But if I click on a little locker here, we'll see the meter rises. So that's where we want to be looting stuff, but also not blowing through our meter. The large chests will show up on the map, and those ones have different reward types that denote different rewards, and then some of them are more valuable than others. In general, jewelry is actually one of the most valuable ones, which is the 2 we have represented here. Here's where the doors can get spooky, but thankfully, playing a totem build, we could just place totems. Or let our merc handle it, either or. Let's have Karst open up this box for us and see what's inside, and maybe something good, maybe something unique. It is a jewel. Jewels are good. Belts are good. We're so desperate for just any life res anything that we're just a happy little boy. Place our totems in front of the door and just hug the side over here, and they'll take care of the rest. Coast is clear. Second chest, another jewel, another amulet. Okay, now we're at the end here. Something to note that some rooms contain safes. Safes don't increase your alert level, but they just contain loot. No reason not to click them, especially early on. There's a free Chaos Orb. I love that. There's a free Regret. I love that. Now, once I grab the actual main heist thing, it's going to autofill my alert level, enter lockdown, and now I have to escape. This is the second part of Heist. Escaping is basically a bum rush out the door. You don't have to kill everything, but you will have these opportunities where you're stuck behind doors because your dude is opening shit. This is where I can, again, place my totems and play it safe, but I got to be mindful I don't get pincered while walking through here. Using movement skills and having things like phasing make Heist so easy. Being tanky is also just a quick solve. So in this scenario, I don't have to actually kill anything from the door. I could just blink past it, You could just avoid it all by just using movement skills. That works as well. a phasing flask, a quicksilver flask, a cheeky little frost blink here and there, you're pretty much out. Now at the end, you get to heist away your piece of contraband, which is in this case rogues markers. That's what I'm going to get from this urn. And I get to vendor if I want to and check what we got here. Nothing there, nothing there. Not terrible, but nothing there, nothing there. And a fractured ring, but it has a fracture on ES, which I don't give a shit about. So vendor up, and then you'd rinse repeat if you're actually doing heist. But for us, that's a tutorial, so we are done with that. Make sure to check on the affinity button at the bottom of each specialty locker. That way, when I go to my stash, I could dump everything in it, and it's going to put my rogues markers auto affinity where I want them. Now, back to Act 6, and we are moving on back to the riverways. 1, 2, 3. Nice little stack deck action here. Let's keep our distance from this boy. Thank you, thank you. Okay, the second half of Act 6 follows the riverways all the way down until we hit a pair of unique mobs, which are like trapper dude. There they are. You want to make sure you don't follow the road completely because there's a bunch of traps ahead. Hard right down to the southern forest. And through the southern forest we go, just hugging the right wall. There's a unique monkey in the zone. He's actually quite spooky, so I typically steer clear of him in hardcore. Kind of thinking I want more damage, and I do have to change my routing ever so slightly coming up. We're going to start going right and work our way up to these power charge nodes, and I'll explain why kind of in a little bit when we get there and really just get on to Act 7. There's the big angry monkey. We're going to steer clear of him, though. He's an angry boy. I heard something drop. Ooh, it's a 6-socket. Our first 6-socket. And there's a contract for heist, but we're going to skip those early on. Maybe we won't. What was it? Engineering. Alright, engineering I'll take. Alright, at the end of the southern forest, there's the waypoint. We're entering the Cavern of Anger now. Quick little flag. Black flag. There's Nessa. And here is the introduction to Delirium. Delirium is a mechanic where you walk through this mirror. You're going to smoke out the zone, which is a timer based off of the distance from where you're at to the end of the area. As the farther you are, the quicker it progresses and the more difficult it gets. And you're going to spawn in a bunch of enemies, and you're going to have it so things are delirium touched and a little bit angrier, basically. The more you progress the zone, the harder things get and the more loot that drops. The more you fill the bar and the farther away you go, you get these guaranteed rewards that build up on the bottom here, which we kind of want to get to just where it says 4, and then we kind of stop it. You can stop it by pushing the button in the bottom right to end the delirium encounter manually. This can get kind of spooky, so we don't really want to go too crazy here, especially in hardcore, especially early on. One of the biggest boons of delirium is dropping these cluster jewels, which we're really not going to give a shit about for quite some time. But a Val side zone I will do. Because it's a different instance, the delirium is not present here, so we could just kind of go in safely. Be mindful of the shrine, though. I don't really know what shrine it is just yet. It's a minion shrine. I was like, why does it keep attacking stuff? Alright, here's the boss. I want to watch out for that crab. Crabs are spooky, they shotgun. Alright, sacrifice dusk, sacrifice noon, dawn, what was it? Noon and dawn, nice. Back in Delirium land we go. We're at 4-2, so we could just hit select to end. We'll get an amount of currency and just generic items. But yeah, free goodies. Hey, there's our Val Orb. We wanted to use that on our jewel and see if we can hit Corrupting Blood. Didn't. Alright, cool. Val Orbs have a lot of really cool Val implicits, which some of them are quite potent, like immune to silence, Corrupting Blood, various immunities. Hinder, Maim, some juicy ones in there. Alright, exiting the Cavern of Anger and onto the Beacon. Beacon is a pretty fun little area. It's a beach that leads to what I can only describe as basically a lab trial. It's not a lab trial, but it's functionally a lab trial. Guadalupe is not a big fan of lab trials. She says, no. Sometimes the lab trials speak to Guadalupe. And to that she says, siéntate, cállate la boca, niño. Ay, Dios mío, Guadalupe. Spooky little sanguinomancer. But I want that pride. I want that. Give me that alchemy. Alright, we've reached the middle of the beacon. The real beacony part. We do get a crafting recipe for Life and Mana, rank 2. Okay, so we have to stand on these little fucking things and charge these beacons. It's kind of shitty, but our Merc will really take care of most. Alright, as it goes all the way in, it charges. We can go to the other side. That's right, there's 2 fucking sides here. Like a good vinyl. It's got an A side and a B side. And that is the B side complete. Okay, now we get to climb to the top, hit the ignition switch, and burn that flag in the beacon. Talking to Whalem Roth, and getting a little boat ride on the Flying... I can only assume it's the Flying Dutchman. to the Brine King's Reef to fight the spookiest thing in Act 6. I know what you're thinking. Oh man, the Brine King's pretty spooky. Nope. He's not the spookiest thing in Act 6. The spookiest thing in Act 6 are these fucking golems that slam down with the might of 1,000 stars. Those things. Animated Reef. They have cooked scaling, and if you get a nasty rare, they will wreck your day. Or you watch out with these strong boxes, because those reefs will come and get you. The actual Brine King's Reef, clearing it wise, is you just run around and follow an edge, and you'll reach the Brine King eventually. Alright, here it is. The erect peep that leads to the Brine King's throne. Here's where we find out that Nessa is not actually captive, and not really Stockholmed, but really just likes banging fish dick. This fight is pretty low stakes. It's, he himself does very little damage, and the only damage that you really take is from what I would describe as environmental damage in the arena that you could kind of mitigate by having any amount of life regen, capped res, and walking in circles. He does do reflect, but that doesn't matter for us because totems. Here's the part where he stands in the middle, and then you'll see these little spirals on the ground that do damage. Those. You can move, or you could just tank them. I just did. They did. Again, I can only describe as a negligible amount of damage if you are res capped. I'm pretty sure I could AFK in this fight and I would not die. Sometimes the dolphin comes off screen and hits you also. Okay, here's the last part. Just gonna stand still, tanking everything. All of it. It doesn't matter. It does no damage. And with the death of Soagoth, the Brine King, we not only finish Act 6, but more importantly, we get our first major god Pantheon. He has this cold stun-based one, which really won't affect us because we have we'll have a decent life pool, so we'll be not very susceptible to stun, and cold doesn't matter because we're going to be freeze immune, so basically that does nothing. But I guess if we were to get gangbanged, it would prevent us from just dying straight up. Either way, Guadalupe feels secure, and we are on to Act 7.